Hello, hello. How are you all today? So tonight's conversation, um, first let me introduce myself. I'm Tiananichelle, and every Thursday I have Crown Convos that talks about real topics from dating, relationships, um, marriage, life. And so what I do, I am a serial entrepreneur. I have a beauty business and I have an app that caters to people with disabilities. So tonight's conversation is absent mothers and the effect and difficult mother and daughter relationships. And so I know Mother's Day was Sunday and a lot of people celebrated. I celebrated, but there were people who did not celebrate Mother's Day because they have either strained relationships with their mom or it's non-existent. So I kind of wanted to have this conversation because this is not something that a lot of people talk about. So I'm going to give it a few more minutes. Hello, hello. And wait for some more people to come in. I was trying to get it going on Facebook too. Hello, hello. Hopefully you all can hear me. I have this fan on. It is quite steamy outside. So I have the fan on. Okay. So we're going to get into it. So it's a known fact that there are a lot of people that have grown up with their mom. Some may have been in a two-parent household, others in single-parent households, and they have maybe worked to develop great relationships with their mom. I also took notes. I'm looking at my notes too. And they've also seen their mom work hard to provide for them and things like that. So this is something to really be grateful for because everybody is not fortunate to have that. And also this is the common image that society portrays, the hardworking mom that does it all. But let's be real, everybody does not have that experience. And everybody does not feel that way. So it becomes, I'll say this. Let me just start with the statistics that I put up. So 52% of moms do not live in the household with their children. And there are only 7% of homes without a mother due to the married couple living separately. And so what I have found is it is increasingly more common for moms to not either be there in the home or not have good relationships with their daughters or children. And I have also taken inventory of the people that I know who are actually experiencing some of these things. Also, I have some experiences with this topic as well, and I'll go into that later. And so I feel like this subject is actually alarming, that there are increasingly more moms that are not in the home, because we're used to hearing people talk about like moms and listening to the stories of how their moms did this, that, and the other, and you know how they were always there for them, or all of these different things. It's always that, and especially in the Black community, that moms are looked at as positive, you know, a sound staple. And what I will say is, it's usually because there are more fathers that are not in children's lives versus moms, but it has increased, you know, over the years, that there are a lot of moms that are not in the home or don't have, you know, great relationships with their children. So this is still a thing. And so it's just really baffling to me how this is an occurrence. But I did put up how this happens. Okay, so the other thing that I found was that even out of the statistics, when it comes to court order support, moms usually get 90%. Like, there are 90% of moms, I should say, that get court order support versus the 30% of dads. And I feel like, that's a little lopsided there. But I know some instances where men have gone to court for their kids and they're sent through the ringer for custody. And it's like the man has to prove really hard that the mom is unfit. And I actually have firsthand experience with this, and I'll tell you about it later. But it seems like it's really difficult. Like, and I don't know what their reasoning is for that. Like, but they can show that the mom is on drugs, she has mental illness, all of these different things, and the courts still send the man through different things, because I guess it's still not perceived as common for moms not to be a part of their children's lives, but it does exist. So nonetheless, we know that this issue exists, but the reason why this issue exists is not one reason, but it's quite a few. So the rate of incarceration has increased for Black women. You have mental illness. Hello. You have divorce. You have some women that realize that they don't want to be mothers. There are some mothers that have their own abandonment issues. There are mothers who still, like, they don't have good relationships with their own mothers. So because there are, and this is not just the only reasons why, but these are some reasons that I know of. There could be more than this, but these things a lot of us don't take into account with our own mothers and what they could be dealing with and the reason why the relationships are the way that they are. The other part is some of them may have dealt with their own abuse and their own traumas that they may not have worked through. So that could be some of the issues, which actually goes into absent mothers, but it also goes into it speaks to the difficult relationships that mothers may have with their daughters and or children. And so the things that I found that are a result from mothers not being present in the home, self-esteem issues, feelings of loss and hopelessness, the lack of being shown, how to be a woman, developing bonds with other adults, increased levels of fear and anxiety that other adults would also leave. This spills over into dating relationships a lot of the time, because then you have people that have grow up and have abandonment issues. You have a lot of grown people that are dealing with this type of stuff. So we're not just talking about small children. We're talking about people that are our age, 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s. So the other part is that the relationship could be missed, right? Because you have people who were hoping and wishing as children that their moms would be there, and they, have all of these things in their mind about how the relationship would go, and it just simply did not go that way. So now they are grieving the loss of that relationship, and they, feel abandoned. And then you have, children that have a higher risk of isolation because they don't have a mom. And it's just like when all of the kids talk about their moms. I used to be a teacher, so the kids, always have the latest gossip. Like, they talk about their moms, their dads, what's going on in the home. I had a kid that told me about floods, the home flooded. Like, they talk. Kids talk. But when kids talk about their moms, a lot of the times they talk about all of the things that their moms have done, whether it was getting them the latest shoes, buying their uniform or their books or something that they liked over the weekend, or maybe taking them to the movies or something. They talk about their moms with pride, and then that can make another child feel uncomfortable because they don't have the same experience. So then they go in their own shell, because they're like, okay, well, what's wrong with me? My mom, my mom is not there. So that's the isolation part. And then now you have, on the flip side, is mothers who have difficult relationships with their daughters. Hello. So there are many moms who have their own idea about how they want their children to be. Like, when a woman finds out that she's pregnant and she, is accepting to that, because like I said before, there are some moms that are not wanting to be moms, but they just go along with the process. And they have their own idea about what they want their kids to be, especially their daughters. Like, a lot of moms have where their daughters are going to be this, and they're going to do this, and they're going to be cute, and they're going to have these types of clothes, and all of these different things. And so they don't I'm not going to say they, but some moms don't let go of that idea when they find out that their child is on their own page, has their own ideas of what they want to be and do. And this can be very frustrating, because it's like a tug of war between mom and daughter. I'm trying to see if I can do this on Facebook, this thing. But it's like a tug of war. And so we find that it causes a major conflict. Now, it's no secret that once girls become teens, that there's a strain on the relationship anyway, because moms are like trying to hold down the fort type of situation, stop her from doing whatever it is. And this could be difficult. Like, it could be really difficult. Let me set this right here. And not all girls are accepting to what their mom. Do you have some girls that will conform to whatever the standard is of what their mom wants them to do? But that's not majority. You have a lot of girls that are like, no, I'm gonna do what I want to do, and that be that, right? So let's see. I'm trying to see if I can go live on both of these platforms at the same time. It be challenging because these devices don't be acting right. I be trying. Let's see. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to see. Let me do it. I'm not trying to be this far out, but yes. So, many moms have their own idea about, how they want their child to be. So, but sometimes it can be a little overbearing. It can be a little bit too much. You have some moms that be doing the complete most. And these are some of the behaviors that can be the overbearingness. Borderline toxic. Overreacts to differences of opinion, where the conflicts, is like they can't control their anger when their child is like, no, and so, I don't want to do that. And so they'll express their anger by yelling, screaming, name calling, that kind of thing. The other part is making excessive demands. There are mothers who are like this, where they make demands that are too much. Like, it's almost like they are trying to run your life. So even if you say no to them, they're not accepting of this no. It's like, why are you telling me this? Like, look at all the stuff that I did for you, kind of situation. Even that goes into manipulation. And so they try to control the person's thoughts, and feelings and things like that. And it's almost like you feel like you're forced into being a certain way or into accepting what she wants. Failure to respect boundaries is another one, and that is what a lot of mothers and daughters face, is the lack of boundaries that happens. And sometimes it's because they want to be a part. Like, they want to be a part of the process. They want to be a part of what's going on. And it's like, okay, she's not letting me into her life, so I just need to figure out what's going on. So they might start snooping through your journals or diaries. Like when I was a kid, I had a diary. So diaries was popular back then. You talking about 90s. And so the girl feels like it's a violation of privacy. She doesn't feel empowered. So lack of respect. There are some that might put down accomplishments that their child might have. And it's really because they have their own insecurities about certain things. And it can be really hurtful when this is done. And you might feel like, no matter what you do, she will not approve. So whatever, I'm going to just do me. And that happens. That happens. The other part is she hurts you with her words or actions. So this is borderline verbal abuse. And I have witnessed, and this is the thing, growing up black, we already know that in growing up black, like, your mama gonna tell you to sit your tail down. You gonna experience all, like, black mamas say a lot of things that white mamas just don't say. But I have witnessed where I'm in a grocery store and a mama is cussing her kid out, calling them all types of B's and this, that, and the other. And it's really because the child asked for something in the store, even though she said don't ask for this. But you already know kids gonna test the limit. They gonna push the limit. And I have witnessed that, like, and then to look at the child wasn't even a teenager. Like, this child had to be like 4 or 5 years old, and his mama was calling them all types of B's and this, and talking about, about his daddy and all types of stuff. And I was just like, this is too much. But we wonder why there's so many people that have so many issues in their own life with their own relationships. And a lot of this stuff is due to some of the ways that our parents treated us. And it's really in the nurturing or lack of nurturing from a lot of moms. And so the other part is there's a pride thing that happens when parents are disciplining their kids, and moms especially, because more than likely in this situation it's the mom that's raising the child in this situation. And so they refuse to apologize for stuff. There's a prideful thing that happens in even being a parent. Like, a lot of parents don't apologize for whatever the hurts are, whatever the things are that they've done to make a child feel uncomfortable. Even as an adult, you have grown people that can't even have conversations with their parents, let alone have a conversation with their mom, because they feel like they can't say anything. They don't feel empowered to say anything. And that is really an issue, because you should never feel like that. Even as an adult, you should be able to have that relationship where you can say respectfully, how whatever was said, how it made you feel. But with, those moms who are, in this instance, is more like a control thing. There are a lot of children, even adults, that are unable to speak their minds. It's also controlling, in what you wear, who you date, what school you go to, what job you decide to do, how you thrive as an adult. Like, there's a lot of input that they're putting in, and it's a little too much sometimes. The other part is lacking empathy. I noticed this firsthand from someone that I was dating. I've never experienced this type of situation where a mom didn't really care about what she was saying to the child and how it made that child feel. And I'm gonna just say that child because even though he's an adult, he's still, a child to his mom. So I was really like taken back by, like, she didn't care. She was just like, whatever. And I'm like, this man is a full grown adult and you just don't give no cares about how this man feels. And you just say anything. So it does happen. It very much so happens. And all of these different experiences can lead to, and this is something that I've seen even in adults who don't have good relationships with their moms. They have difficulty establishing relationships with other people. Sometimes they repeat the same cycle of abuse or whatever the thing was that their parents were doing. They repeat that same cycle with their own parents. They don't know how to have and cultivate healthy relationships with someone of the opposite sex. It can lead to depression, anxiety, trust issues, PTSD, and all of those different things. So, I'm just going to talk about my own experience. So, in dating someone in the past and helping with their child and all of this other stuff, in the beginning stages, there was a toxic relationship between the man and the child's mother. But what I noticed was it was more so the child's mother doing a lot of things just to get under his skin. So because he had moved on, and that's the other part, there are some moms that, and we don't even realize this as grown but adults, like our moms was once in relationships with whoever that helped created us, right? And so when those relationships, or if those relationships didn't work out, they still had those feelings. Just like we had those feelings, they had those feelings. So then now they have to raise a child without that man, and it becomes a tug of war because they're struggling with their own emotions with whatever the relationship was or what it was supposed to be. Hello. And now it's not that way. So she has not had time to adjust to life as is. But in the meantime, in between time, she is still raising this child. So what I experienced firsthand was the whole baby mama situation where she was like, what's going on? I thought this girl was temporary or whatever the case may be. Fast forward, she had some mental illness that was going on where we had to go pick up the child because she was having her own mental health issues. We found out she was, in the psych ward and all of this different stuff. And so now we had a whole court case going because now he was fighting for custody. And so when I tell you that the court system sent him through the ringer, that case took a year for things that they already knew. Like, they already had knowledge of her being in the system. She had a record. She had been in different mental health facilities and all of these different things. And so that case took, that case took a year. And so during that time, though, the child is growing. And because he was so young, like, of course, he doesn't know what's going on. So he doesn't have the words to articulate what in the world is going on and all of these different things. And so I didn't really know, and I hadn't seen firsthand this type of a situation, like, ever in life. Like, I never saw where a mom was having this type of difficulty, and even the stuff that was like flying out of her mouth and how she was acting, and it was bad. So I know that she's not the only woman in America to be that way. She's not the only mom to be that way, and as a result of her actions, she's literally, and not just her actions, but also the fact that she has a mental illness, all of her children have gotten taken from her. So now all of the dads are single dads, as what I expressed previously about, there are single dad households today. This has become an increasing thing. Hello. And it's really alarming, though, because I'm like, what's going on? What is really going on with the women that this has become a thing? And women are not really having these conversations is the reason why I'm having the conversation. And they're not talking about what they feel. And come to find out, this girl has her own strained relationship with her mother. So it's just like a cycle, in addition to whatever she's experienced, in addition to the fact that she has a mental illness. And it's really sad, because the last thing that I would want for a mom is to lose her child. Like, that's not something that should happen. But at the same time, if the child is going to be raised in a stable environment and is going to receive, the love and the care and the supports that the child needs just with the dad, then so be it. Because he is also a parent. I don't know why people act like dads aren't parents, but they are. So that was my firsthand account of seeing one absent mom, two a difficult relationship. Because the other thing is, when we try to do things, and include her, she will find ways to like blow things up. Like, if it was a birthday party, now she's causing some type of issues, some type of conflict. She's got to be seen, put on a show. It was just like a lot of nonsense, y'all. A lot of nonsense. But that's my firsthand experience with someone to that magnitude. So I had never experienced a mom that act like that. Hello. So now to my to, I don't know, that whole, I just did not know that type of mom existed until I experienced that firsthand. Like, I was totally clueless to that part. But I also know of people who deal with the same type of things, where they have absent moms or they have a strained relationship with their mom, and they're trying to figure out how to navigate whatever their feelings are, whatever their emotions are surrounding the fact that their mom wasn't the best towards them. And I know that everything does not there is not a one-time solution for this type of a issue. It's not something that you'll just go to a therapist or somebody and they'll just give you like a magic solution and it'll disappear. No, this is like years of whatever the pain was, whatever the feelings were, whatever the emotions were that you had to work through or deal with, or say, okay, well, it wasn't me. You know, it was whatever she was going through. Everybody does not have that type of epiphany or that type of, you said toxic conditioning. Explain what you mean by that. Toxic conditioning. Okay. Yeah, give me some context to that. I want to know what your thoughts are on that one. But it is, yeah, years and years of experience with toxic parent. Which a minute ago I was talking about how, you know, the lack of boundaries and how, you know, there's control issues and all of that kind of stuff. And it does become a conditioning because then you cannot express yourself. You're not comfortable to express yourself freely. You are walking on eggshells, essentially, and you're trying to figure out how to be, what to say. Even as an adult, there are a lot of adults that are still dealing with this, and we all grown. Like, we 30, 40, 50 years old and still trying to figure out, there's a lot of us trying to figure out how to go about saying no, how to go about setting boundaries, how to go about all of these different things, and then trying to navigate our own relationships. And this is actually one of the biggest things that I think Black women struggle with. And I'm gonna be honest, like, if you have a mom that is toxic or controlling or whatever she has going on, whatever her struggle is, you can fill in that blank. How is she showing you how to cultivate relationships with other people? How is she showing you, even by her own actions, how to cultivate relationships with someone that you are interested in? And then you grow up, you're dating, you're having relationships with people, and these relationships are not good relationships because you weren't taught how to do this. You weren't taught how to navigate this. Now, I have seen, and I was trying to figure this out before, hello, why there are many women who have issues in dating relationships. I was trying to figure this out, and it just came to me. It goes back to whatever that relationship was with your parents. Not just your mom, but also the relationship with your dad. And we don't even look at this. We don't really talk about this, but this is the reason why there's so many dysfunctional relationships, because nobody is really sitting down and having these hard conversations about where the root of the problem. They want to spew venom as if, oh, Black women just angry, we just got all these issues, you know, we just run around and we want to bang on our chest and do this and the other. But think about the relationship that the Black woman needs to have with her mother. Whether it was, you know, your grandmother, her great-grandmother, whoever was raising her, what was that relationship like? And was it healthy? You know, did you see a healthy marriage dynamic? Did you see like any type of healthy relationships? Even did she have girlfriends that she hung out with and cultivated healthy relationships with? It all plays a part in your character once you know, are coming of age. What you've seen really helps mold you as a person. And so we can talk about people's dysfunction all day, but getting to the root of the problem is very key. This is why I want to have these conversations, because we need to uproot some stuff that has been embedded in us, that we have been conditioned in our mindsets, have been conditioned to be a certain way. Like that's not cool. To not be able to have a conversation and have healthy relationships with anybody, be it dating, be it familial, is not cool. I don't know why we think this is okay, but it's not okay. You said we can talk about people's dysfunctions all day, but we need to get to the root. We do. We really do. Society harps on negativity. So that's why dysfunction is highlighted, is because there's more negativity in the world than it is positivity. And, you know, when the person is positive, a lot of the times a person can be influenced by negative behaviors, but a lot of negative people are not necessarily influenced by positive people. But you will see more positive people come down off of their positivity, because that negativity holds a different type of weight to it. So, like, I have just noticed that we are living in a society where negativity is king. Like, it is running rampant, and nobody's having these conversations to get to the root. They're doing everything for shock value. They're doing everything to be like, oh, well, let's just talk about it. And then there's no talking about it. There is a let's talk over each other. Let's do it. It's just a lot of dysfunction. So this is a conversation about uprooting some things. What are you saying? Women want more than they can or will bring to the table. Now, okay. So I'll address this one, because you said for clout. So what I will say is, we live in a society where women earn more than our male counterparts on average. Black women have gotten more education and more find ways to earn more money than previously in history. So with that being said, how does one deal with that, one, in a relationship, when she wants someone that is her equal in her earnings, and then two, maybe her equal in her education? So the known fact is there are not a lot of high earning men, but there are a lot of high earning women. And so you just have those that are like, well, I want a man that is making this type of money. You know, he's got, if I have a master's, I want him to have a master's. If I have a doctorate, I want him to have a doctorate. I want him to be my complete equal in every single way. And we don't necessarily live in a society where there's enough of those to go around. So I'm not going to necessarily say that they want more than they can bring to the table. I think that a lot of women are bringing the table. The problem is that when it boils down to it, that's not necessary. I don't think that your economic status is it determines your character. I feel like your character, to me, outweighs how much you earn. In my eyes, if you are a man that is earning an honest living, you have goals, dreams, and aspirations, you know, you have a good heart, you have a good relationship with God, all of those things are, it speaks to your character. When you don't have those things, I don't care how much you making, it's not going to equal your character. I'm sorry. I think that in that regard, women need to get out of that. I think it's very superficial to look at a man and say he's not worthy of dating because he's not making six figures, because a six-figure man can mistreat you, abuse you, misuse you, and all these different things, and then you don't care because you're like, oh, when he makes this type of money, you want something you can brag on versus looking at the character. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing it for likes or views, Them likes and views gonna go away. You got to deal with that man on your own. You got to be behind closed doors with that man. You're not even gonna like the person you with. So what's the point in that? Don't get me started. Don't get me started with that. That's some foolishness. You said, but you're not supposed to be equal in earning. Money is the root of all evil. Character is king. So I'm gonna say this. Money is told to us that it's the root of all evil, but it's the worshiping of money that is the root of all evil. Money is not the root. It's the people that worship it that is the root. So let's really be clear. I don't have the scripture in front of me because this is the scripture that correlates with that. But it's the worshiping of it that is the root of all evil. And I believe character is king. I do agree with you. Character is very much so king, but it goes back to what has that woman been shown? You said money answers all things. It does to a certain extent. It does not. It's not the answer for dysfunction. It's not the answer for deep down internal issues that you might face, but having money gives you access to a lot of things that you won't have access to, without it. Money gives access. It gives you freedom. It gives you the ability to move and groove the way that you please when you have enough of it. But it doesn't necessarily make you feel better at night when you're dealing with abuse or when you're dealing with emotional issues that you might be going through. But it does very much so give you access. You can, go on trips if you want. You can start whatever businesses you want. You can do all of these things. 1 Timothy 6:10, the love of money is the root of all evil. Yes. There it is. Yes. You said, then when a woman only wants the man with 6 figures, isn't she worshiping the money? Yes, very, very much. That's very much accurate. When a woman just wants a man for the money that he has, not his character, not for the great husband he could be, not for the fact that he could be a wonderful dad, not for the fact that he could add to her spiritually, emotionally, can elevate her. Because there's a thing that is supposed to happen when you connect with someone that you are, in relationship with. You all are supposed to be elevating together. You all are supposed to be growing in different areas together. If it's about money, where's the growth? What you gonna be doing? Because at the end of the day, it's a lot of rich women that ain't happy. It's a lot of rich women that go to bed at night wondering where their husband is, while their husband is off with somebody else. But ain't nobody talking about that. Nobody's talking about the fact that there are a lot of wealthy men and they have access. That's the main thing. Wealthy men have access to all types of women, and they have access in order to do whatever the heck it is, whatever these fetishes are, whatever these fantasies are. They can play out all of this mess because they got money. And so they not stunting a relationship. I don't know. A lot of them rich men are not trying to really have the real relationships like your $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year men. Those men are usually the ones that's trying to have families, trying to build something. A lot of them are grounded spiritually. It's usually not the wealthy. It's usually not. And I don't know any statistics that's really on that, but from what I have seen, most of them are not that way. so it just doesn't solve anything. It's nice to have and you can build, but this is the thing. A lot of women don't realize if you make $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, because there are a lot of black women earning between about 50 to 100, 150K. It's a lot of those. And so if you got a man that's earning 50K, add that 50 to your 150 and y'all got 200K. Y'all can move and groove and do whatever when you put that money together. What's the problem? I don't know what the problem is. I don't. Then she like, well, my money is my money. Well, if y'all married, your money is not your money. His money not his money. Y'all, it's y'all money. So all of that to me goes out the window. Once you get married, it's a partnership. It is, you all are supposed to be sharing and building together, and that is how you share and build together. But looking at somebody solely off of their assets is very shallow, and that stuff gonna go away. Like, there's another scripture that talks about that. How is it in? It might be in Psalms. I think it's in Psalms, but how the rich will wither away and all of this stuff. It's like you're storing up your riches for what? To do what? Like, if you're not affecting and changing somebody's life, then what is the point in you being wealthy? Your wealth should be changing other people's lives, because that's what you were sent to do. You wasn't sent here just to get wealthy and to die with your own money. Like, no, you were supposed to be making your money, getting wealthy, because God did not mean for us to be poor. You can look that up. That is scripturally based. And there's a lot of scriptures about prosperity. There's a lot of scriptures about that. He did not mean for us to be poor. So I don't know where that speaks more to religion than anything. But because a lot of pastors got that part wrong. We're not supposed to be suffering. We are not supposed to be out here hurting, falling apart, being raggedy, feeling raggedy. Like, no, we are supposed to be prosperous. We are supposed to be out here making a difference with our prosperity. So, what did you say? Your wealth should be changing other people's lives. It should. It should. And just think about it. A lot of the wealthy, not a lot, but you have your Oprahs of the world. You have just certain ones who give their money away. Now, one, it might be for tax purposes, but two, notice that when you give, when you give, you wind up receiving right behind that. I've noticed that every time that I have given, whether it be tithes, whether it be my time, whether it be money to somebody that needed it, whether it be food, whatever it is, whatever I have given, I've noticed that I have got a return on it in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Some type of provision was made. So giving is most important, especially when you have it. It's wealth and money is not for you to hold on to and to be storing it up for just for the sake of doing it. You should be changing somebody else's life, because when it's all said and done, when you die, what are you gonna do with that? You said don't get started with Oprah. That's for tax purposes only. I mean, I can't speak to whatever spiritual life she got. You know, I don't know her personally. You know, I did say tax purposes, because let's be clear, when the wealthy give away stuff, they basically hardly pay no taxes on this stuff. So it's like we pay all the taxes and they pay zero. And they have money for it, but they're not paying it. Because why? They're giving it away. They have all of these different, think about it, car giveaways, money giveaways, toy donations. They write in $20,000, $30,000 checks to heart research or cancer research or whatever this other stuff is. And basically, when you file your taxes and you do your Schedule C and all that stuff, like, that's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. They get their money. They get their money. You said they write it completely off. They do. It's a write-off. But I don't know. I can't speak to people's spiritual life. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just noticed that when I've given, I've gotten a return. So I can't speak for those wealthy people's spiritual life because I don't know them personally, behind the closed doors. I don't know them like that. So it might have something to do with their spiritual beliefs, but we don't know. So I'm going to just leave it there. But at the end of the day, money is not the fix all when it comes to what's in here. It can fix a lot of different things for you. If you're in debt, get you out of debt. Make sure your bills are paid up, before the time, on time, however you want to do it, a year ahead of time, however you do it. It can do a lot of things, open a lot of doors, give you a lot of access to different opportunities. It can do that. But at the same time, it is not a fixer when it comes to your relationships with people. It is not a fixer when it comes to how you really feel about yourself. Because let me be honest, these people, and this is throughout this pandemic, this is a good example. A lot of these people got PPP loans, right? And number one, what did they do with them? What did they do with them? I just want to know. Like, did they go out and give the money away to a charitable organization? Like, how much they got? A lot of these people went crazy buying cars, like, and you already know the ones that went to jail. They went out buying cars, buying all of these different things, and it caught up with them. At the end of the day, they got to sit with themselves because they went out committing crimes for something that they didn't even need in the first place. It got them all types of access and bought them all of these different things, but they have to sit with themselves. During that same time, a lot of these women went out and had all of these surgeries done, which to me shows that they didn't even like themselves to begin with, because the fact that you would take a $20,000 that you might have gotten and went to the DR to go get your body done instead of doing something for your kids, setting up accounts for your kids, starting your business, I don't know, making investments, however, whatever, there was a better use than running and going to get your body done. To me, that shows that you lack self-esteem because you lied to get this money to go get your body done. That's clearly a lack of self-esteem. Like, that's clearly a you issue. Like, you don't even like yourself. So I got to hurry up and go get my body done because I got to look good. And you gonna go look good for some dude that don't even like you. This the other part. How you gonna go get your body done for a dude that's gonna turn around and cheat on you? It just makes no sense to me. But it does not solve the self-esteem issue. It's the point that I'm making. It does not solve the deep-rooted mommy wounds, daddy wounds. It don't solve that. So what I would say is it's okay to have it, but don't make it the end-all be-all in your life. Still do your work. Still deal with you. Because if you're not happy, that money don't mean nothing. Case in point, the judge, country singer, what's her name? Winona. Her mama killed herself. They wealthy, famous. Mama done shot herself. And how old is she? I don't know how old that lady is, but she done shot herself. So money does not solve everything. But back to the conversation, it don't solve your mommy wounds. It does not solve your mommy wounds. You're going to have to deal with that in a whole nother way. And I would say that so this is my moment of transparency. I talked about my firsthand account of actually seeing a mom who was going through her own struggles, mental illness, all of this different stuff, and got her children taken away from her. And I was essentially helping to take care of that child. I had never seen anything like that before. Like, I had never witnessed anything like that before. But there are moms who don't have access to their children now. Like, they're incarcerated, like I was saying before. You know, they're in psych wards. They're wherever they are going through, whatever they're going through. And they're not building relationships with their children because they're struggling with their own issues, which is something that definitely money can't help them with, because they will run through it. Some of them are on controlled substances. You know, they are struggling with their own demons. So it's hard for someone who is struggling with their own demons to actually be there for another human being, no matter if they carried that human being or not, because they have their own issues. It's just a hard situation that I'm not going to say that they have to work through. They do need to work through it, but there are some that are not aware. They're not emotionally aware of how they feel, what they're going through. They not able to articulate their feelings, or maybe they don't trust even articulating them, because a lot of our parents grew up, you know, not being able to talk about emotions. They was just going through whatever the emotion was. They was just pushing through it. There was no talk about that. You had a lot of those women dealing with physical abuse, sexual abuse, mental abuse, and it wasn't looked at like abuse. It was looked at like something that was normal. So then they take those same things, have children, and then do the same things. The difference is with our generation now, we're like, that's abuse. Like, we're aware, and we have become aware, I should say, of our emotions, because there was a period of time where this stuff wasn't being talked about. So we're coming into an awareness of what's acceptable. We're coming into an awareness of, if you're not treating me right, I need to set boundaries. We're coming into an awareness of, I need to be selfish in a sense where my emotional state is more important, you know, than anything. We're coming into that awareness, and it's very necessary. The other part is, and I'm gonna say, like, I didn't always have a close relationship with my mom. Like, growing up, I did not always have that relationship. It took time for that, because we dealt with our own struggle. It was who she wanted me to be versus who I really was, you know. And it was a struggle. And eventually, I had to forgive some of the things, because I realized she's human. She had her own experiences. She went through her own stuff. A lot of things that she didn't talk about that she went through. Hello. A lot of situations that she went through that just was not good. Even looking at my dad, like, my dad is deceased, but when he was growing up, my grandmother did not take care of him. My grandma was hanging out, doing what she did, whatever whatever party was going on, she was there. Her sisters raised my dad and his brother. My grandma was not acting like a mama, okay? And then when she was there, she was abusive, low key. I ain't gonna lie. That woman would cuss you out in a second, throwing stuff at you, because she didn't have the words to say whatever it was or how to express herself. So that essentially is toxic. But I have to remember that they didn't live in an era where they can express themselves. It wasn't okay to talk about whatever they were dealing with. But when I look at even her, I realized that she wasn't loved properly. I realized that she was wanting a relationship that she could never have. I realized that she had a certain lifestyle that she had in her mind that she wanted, and it wasn't coming to fruition. So she had a struggle. I think that she dealt with some self-esteem issues, all types of stuff. Like, when I look at the person that she was, I'm like, she dealt with a lot. Now, you said that's compassion. I'm learning to look at, I'm learning to look at people differently. More of a, okay, so this is your reaction to X, Y, and Z, but what's really going on? What's the real? That's how I'm starting to look at people, because how you respond to something is a symptom of a much deeper problem. If it's a negative response, I'm like, okay, you must be going through something, you got something going on. Okay, whatever you need to do, however you need to handle it. I'm learning how to see people differently, but more so, I'm learning to see people the way God sees them, because at the end of the day, He has compassion for us in every capacity, in every thing that we go through, the wrongs that we do, mistakes that we have made. There is still compassion from God for us. He doesn't discount us for our mistakes. He doesn't look at us and say that we just old news or thrown away, or what was that thing that they said Kevin Samuel said? Oh, I forgot what the heck it was. Whatever. He don't say that to us. You said emotional intelligence can't be taught. It's revealed. It is. It's revealed, but it's revealed through wisdom. It's something only God can give. That's all I can say. It's only something God can give. But I have learned to, and I try to do it on a daily basis. I'm not perfect. I still might have a snap moment, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what? Maybe they got something going on. I'm learning to take a step back and be like, okay, what's really going on? I'm learning to have more discernment with people in their situations. So a lot of the times I may not say something right away, but I'm taking inventory of whatever the situation is. And so it does take it takes some work, some internal work to get to that point too, because you have to deal with your own crap before you even get to that point. You have to be able to ask for forgiveness in your own the things that you have done. Like, in order to see someone as human or as how God sees them, you have to own your own mess sometimes. A lot of the time. I'm going to say a lot of the time. You have to own the times where you didn't see them like that, or the times where you did what you did to make somebody feel how they felt. You got to own that too, because you want somebody to see you the way that God sees you too. And a lot of the times we don't do that. But it's necessary, because you don't know what the heck somebody else is going through. And I talked about this previously. You never know what somebody's going through. And you most definitely don't know what your parents are going through. Why? Because they don't talk about it. They don't deal with it. They just keep going, because it was never a thing where they were supposed to, where they had an outlet to do that. Like, they didn't have an outlet to say, let me talk about my issues. There was no Oprah's couch to sit on, a Yalla Van Zandt, a Dr. Phil. They ain't had none of them people. That was not even a thing. They just pushed through them issues, buried that stuff, and then what happens when you steady burying stuff? It eventually comes up. And when it comes up and it comes out, it's a beast that's rearing its ugly head. Like, and everybody gonna catch it. That's usually how that happens. So I have learned to look at people differently. And it's not to make excuses for behavior. You said they had the stories in church. Let me tell you something. Religion will have you out here not even looking at people the way God see them. Religion will have you so caught up in what sister so-and-so done did, and embarrassing. I even talked about that, where girls, when they get pregnant in the church, they got to stand up. There was a time when they did that. They would have to stand up in front of the congregation and ask for forgiveness. What type of humiliating crap is that? She already humiliated in the first place, and then you turn around and just amplify it. Now she apologizing for getting pregnant. But let's talk about this. Church don't even talk about dating in the first place. Church does not tell you how to date. Church don't tell you how to have real relationships with people, especially of the opposite sex. Dating is not a thing. They tell you to go from you meet this person to marriage. So you don't get to know nobody, because they telling you and they're pushing you towards marriage. And this is why a lot of those marriages fall apart, because nobody's telling you how to cultivate the marriage. Oh, love your brother, all of this. So how am I supposed to love my husband? How am I supposed to love my boyfriend? How are we supposed to go from meeting each other to courting one another, we dating, and then marriage? Church don't talk about that. Why? I don't even know. I think that's really crazy, because you can't have a healthy marriage if you don't start with the basics. You got to start with the basics. Okay, so you all are dating. And how do you go from, okay, I like this person, to I'm dating? They don't even say how long you should be dating. At least they could get at if they know that marriage is the goal. They should be like, okay, well, maybe date for 3 months. Date for 6 months. I don't know. But I don't know why these conversations are not being had. They still should be being had right now, because people are still in the church and kids are still in the church. So this whole thing about going to the church for everything, but the church is missing the information, because dating in the church was so taboo. I would say because they always thought that it led to sex. But then why aren't you having a real conversation about sex? Because a lot of the girls that was all in church was all having sex, because nobody told them what to do when they feel those feelings. It was automatically, it's a sin. They weren't told that these are natural feelings that you're feeling, but how you respond to those feelings is something that you should be doing with your husband, and then trying to come up with solutions. I don't know why nobody ever came up with solutions for that. Maybe you take a walk around the block, you take an ice cold shower. I don't know. know. I'm not a sex therapist. Well, I can talk about how that works with the hormones, but at the same time, I think that that's something that needs to be talked about, because a lot of people struggle with this and have struggled with it for many, many years. And these are really life situations that come about, and nobody's giving you a manual or a guide. And they want to find one scripture in the Bible and tell you it's a sin, but they don't tell you live in two realms. You live in the spiritual and you live in the flesh. Your flesh makes you feel X, Y, and Z feelings. But your spirit is like, no, we can't do this. Sometimes your flesh becomes louder than your spirit, and then you feel what you feel and want what you want. So these conversations just need to be had. I'm just saying, you know, I'm auntie over here with this, but this conversation should be had because it's real. It is so real. And a lot of people would, especially those in the church, because people in church are supposed to be like, they supposed to have the knowledge of all of this stuff. But when you tell somebody you go to church, automatically they just hold you to like this standard that's all the way up here, right? But you still got your earthly struggles. You still got your daily struggles that don't nobody speak to. And then you got to brush this stuff up under the rug. You brushing stuff and sweeping it up under the rug. And you got a whole dirt pile under here, and your life falling apart, and it's a mess because you're trying to keep up appearances just because of church and religion, rather than they coming up with solutions for you to handle things. That's the part I don't like about religion. I go to church. I definitely have a relationship with God, but that religion piece is a beast. Because it'll have you out here doing a whole lot of nonsense that God didn't even say do, based on whatever religion you following. You know, whatever religion. That's the other part. A lot of people follow religions because of their parents. You know, that's something that is taught. That whole, there's no free will to come into the knowledge of. Like, you can expose somebody to what you believe, but also understanding that even God gives us a choice. And that's something that we weren't taught as kids. Even God gives you a choice. So if God gives you a choice, I, as a parent, have to give you a choice on what you want to do. Mind you, there are consequences for either choice that you make. There's a consequence that will happen, but you have choice. God gives us free will. So I just feel like it's a bunch of stuff. I wasn't trying to come on here and have a sermon or nothing, but there's a lot of elements that are missing from church, and mainly is rooted in religion, because people are looking at religion and not really looking at the relationship with God, which goes back to why there's so much judgment that happens in church, why there's so, when you talk about people with Jezebel spirits, and I'm like, we got to look at that Jezebel thing a little bit closer now, because it was really in her walk and what she was doing in her walk that, yeah, I don't think that religion shows that in the right context. I have to come back with the scripture, but that it's not in the right context. But if you are trying to say that someone has a loose spirit, why aren't you trying to find out the reason why they might have that? What in their environment, what have they been exposed to that would make them have this? And especially if it's a kid. Somebody would have had to expose them to some nonsense in order for them to act out this nonsense. So instead of having somebody stand up because they got pregnant after you just told them not to do something, and then get them a whole manual on what to do when you feel X, Y, and Z, now you want to publicly shame somebody. It's just that, I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna go there. But this is what religion does. That ain't what God teaches. You not looking at the person as a human, and you're not having compassion for them as God has compassion for you and your wrongs, because them same preachers that done told somebody to stand up be the same ones being adulterers. They out here in these streets. They for the streets and they married men. So that part, if you are so spiritual and you want everybody else to be as spiritual as you got to walk that walk too, as a leader, as a influencer, as a person of God. You got to walk that walk too. And religion have people not walking that walk because a lot of men think, they can do what they want to do. But whole time, scripture speaks to this. Is it 1 Corinthians 6:9? I want to say it's 1 Corinthians 6:9 that talks about the sins directly. And that adultery sin is a thing. It's a part of the context. Can't leap over it. But we ain't gonna talk about that. We ain't gonna talk about that. Anywho. Oh, got me on here preaching. What? I wasn't trying to do that. But back to what I was saying, there are a lot of people that are not looking at other people with the same compassion that they want. And so I've learned to see people the way God sees them. And so I just think that it's very necessary, because when you go through things, you want people to have compassion for your situation. But if you don't have compassion, if you don't have compassion for somebody else, how do you expect somebody to have compassion for you? If you can't take yourself out of whatever your thoughts are, your beliefs are, and look at that person for who they are, okay, you made a mistake. That's, it's not the end. It's okay. Saying stuff like that. People need that. Or even kids need that. You said, have you sown compassion to reap it? I'm not sowing compassion so I can reap it. I'm sowing compassion. Well, you can phrase a question like that, but I'm sowing compassion because that's what God wants us to do. It's not necessarily to reap the benefit from it, but because that's what God wants us to do. He wants us to be compassionate towards other people. But eventually, just like the laws of sowing and reaping, you're going to get that back. Whether or not you're compassionate, you're going to get that back. So if you lack compassion in your own life, you can't expect to get that back. So in moments where you weren't compassionate and then you need compassion, then you might not get that. And then in the moments where you were compassionate and you gave that, then you will get that back. We expect things that we don't embody at a lot of times. That's true. That is very true. Just like these what the guy was saying on here about these women that want these 6-figure men but not bringing nothing to the table. Oh Lord. Anyways, or these, sure, we could talk about some men that are lacking some things and not bringing some stuff to the table. If we want to be honest, there's some men that's not bringing stuff to the table, but they want a woman that's got her stuff together, but brother man ain't got his stuff together. We can talk about that too now. That is a thing. There are men who want a woman to be all of these things that he is not. not embodying, like you said, the very thing that he wants, he's not embodying that thing. So that can be said for that too. But as far as compassion is concerned, understanding that our parents only know what they know. They only can go on their experiences. A lot of them have been through some traumatic experiences. And so seeing them in a different light is very important. I know that it doesn't fix whatever the pain was, whatever the wounds were. It doesn't fix it, but it helps you to have a different lens as to why they did what they did. And so what I wanted to talk about was sometimes you have to, even when you're done wrong, and I talked about this last week, you might have to forgive. When it comes to the relationship that you have with your parents, sometimes they may not see what is really going on. They may not see the things that they have done, but you might have to be honest. I'm not gonna say might. You have to be honest and say, hey, you did X, Y, and Z. Have the conversations. If you want a different outcome, or if you want to release yourself, have the conversation. Say, you know what, can we talk about this? Because, I want to have a better relationship with you, or whatever it is. State whatever it is. And tell them what they did, to bring you to that point, to make you feel how you felt. You have to say it, because when people do stuff to you, a lot of times they don't even realize the offense. People that are on the other end, on the receiving end of that, most times they remember. Like, you remember when somebody offended you, but sometimes we don't even remember, like, when we offended somebody. So just stating that is important. And then you have to really be honest, and then go in prepared. Prepare yourself for whether or not they're accepting to what you're saying. Prepare yourself for maybe they're not ready to have that hard conversation, and maybe it could go left. And be prepared to walk away. But in the end, you get your resolve. You get your own resolve within yourself, because you just say, you know what? I tried. I tried to have the conversation. I tried to resolve this, and it's okay. You already put it out there. So you put it out there. You have already said, okay, I'm trying to resolve this. Let God work the rest out. You already did your work. So I know I have been on here for some time. The other part that I was going to talk about was because it was the whole Mother's Day. Hold on, I'm trying to take this cord out. It was Mother's Day, and I was talking about why people weren't celebrating. It was that maybe they don't have the best relationships with their moms. Maybe they, their moms are absent and things like that. But also the last part that I didn't even mention was, and I wasn't really going to make this a part of the conversation, but the loss of a mother. There are a lot of people that have lost their mother and have not been able to get a resolve on certain things. And this can be a really difficult situation. And when dealing with the loss of a mother, you are essentially grieving like the bond you may have shared, or maybe the relationship that you wanted to have. And what I want to say is, in all of these cases, whether you don't have a good relationship with your mom. Maybe, you know, she was absent, or maybe you lost a mother. It's all forms of grief and disappointment and things like that. And feel the emotions that you're going to feel. Like, if you feel hurt, cry it out. Allow yourself to feel what you feel. Don't try to hold it in and you know, try to be strong, because there's some people that are trying to be strong for somebody when they're dealing with grief. No, worry about your own emotions. Worry about how you're feeling in that moment, and take it day by day, moment by moment. What I will say, that you, in all of these situations, you are going to need somebody to talk to. Hello. You're going to need somebody to walk you through all of these different processes, all of these different emotions that you may feel, whether it's grieving because you lost your mom, maybe you all don't have the relationship, you know, maybe she was never there. Make sure that you get whatever help you need. If it's counseling, or you just need someone that you can talk to on a consistent basis, maybe you're not ready to go to a counselor or something, just make sure that you get the help that you need as far as that's concerned, because that's a lot to deal with. Hello. And you might have different emotions when you lose a mother: disbelief, anger, difficulty moving on in life, emotional numbness, feelings of meaninglessness, I should say. And you will feel all of these different things. They're like a plethora of emotions that I didn't even go through, but allow yourself to feel those emotions. And it's okay. It's not something that you're gonna go through and it's gonna be over in a split second. Society has you thinking that, okay, you know, you go through loss and then you wake up and it's over, or time will heal it. That's not necessarily true. And from my own experience with loss, I lost my dad and I lost my sister. And it's not a mother, but my relationship with my dad was really, really close. My relationship with my sister was super duper close. So that in itself took a toll on me. So from my own experience, it's not that you get over anything. It's not that you get over it. There's no getting over it, because that was a life, and there were memories that were shared, and hello, there were things that you know are used to doing with that person. A lot of different aspects of that relationship and of that person that you will miss. So it's not that you get over it. You just start to adapt to them not being here. That's really what happens. You just start to adapt to them not being in the present. You know, it's not that, you said, and people who say this, get over it, are probably deprived. They are. A lot of them are not in tune with their own feelings. They are not in tune with the grieving process, because everybody hasn't experienced it. I experienced it in my own family twice. What are the odds? My dad and my sister. So how I perceive death, one, is different. How I handle it, both situations were totally different. And I know firsthand how it feels to have a relationship with somebody, to have those memories with somebody, to have that parental figure who you had a close relationship with, and then all of a sudden it's snatched from you in a blink of an eye. So I know that part. I know, you know, to have a sibling that you help to care for, to you all have so many memories of so many different things, and I know what that's like to be snatched. So there is no getting over anything, because there are days when I miss them. I miss them both. And I allow myself to cry it out. I allow myself to feel it. And then I say, okay, now that you've cried it out, now that you felt it, they are where they are. They rejoicing. They don't have no worries, girl. You know, they don't have no pain that they got to deal with, and they ain't got no bills to pay, child. They good, baby. Like, this how I talk to myself. I'm at this point where I just talk to myself like, girl, they good. And you over here, you tearing up. You know, you miss them, but they are totally fine. And I'm like, okay, it's time for me to get myself together. Let me dry my eyes. They good. They not hurting. They not lost nowhere. They're not, you know, what people teach us about death. I think we haven't been taught properly about it. I don't think that we as a culture, even the church, I don't think that we handle death the right way. Because remembering them, talking about them, even talking about how you feel about them being here and now being gone is necessary. It's all a process. And this is how you work through your process of healing, but also your process of starting your life. Because it's almost like you got to start your life over, but this time you're starting it without them. So, that part. You said getting through it. Yeah. I don't know if it's a real get through. I mean, but I have learned to feel how I feel and be in that moment, and then say, okay, you cried it out, you good, now it's time for you to get it together. They're good. You know, you're just mourning the fact that they're not in the physical. They are in the spiritual. That's a whole nother sermon for another day, because I'm on here low-key preaching on. That's a whole nother sermon. So I don't wanna go into that. But there are people that, you know, have lost their moms, have all of these different things, and all of these different things that I have named are all a part of grief. They are all parts of hurts. They are all parts of just different things that people are dealing with on a regular basis that they are not vocal about, and it shows in their relationships. So what I would say is, give yourself grace to feel how you feel in each situation. Definitely talk to a counselor about how you feel. If you feel like you don't have anyone else to talk to, but you need to get it out. Internalizing any emotion is not good. I used to do that. It's not a good thing, because eventually it's gonna erupt like a volcano. Now you spewing this out on everybody else, and then you leave a trail of hurting other people, you know, mishandling other people, and you got to get that back. That's the other part. When you mishandle people, you got to get that back in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So this is not cool to do that. So don't internalize your emotions. Talk about it, get it out. Feel what you feel in the moment. Even if you are having difficulties talking and mending the relationships that you have, maybe with your mom. Like I said, that relationship, if you want the relationship, then the first thing you have to make the decision to do is forgive. Realize, you know, possibly she was going through whatever it was she was going through in those moments. Try to see her like you would want somebody to see you. whether, you know, through whatever mistakes you have made. Because although we think that our parents are perfect when we're kids, they're really not. They're going through life how we going through life. They trying to figure it out how we try to figure it out. It's the same thing. And so we think that they have it all figured out, and they don't. And it's okay. Like, I'm at a point where I'm like, it's okay. You don't have it figured out. It's okay. I mean, when we younger, we not like that. We like, how come you don't know? But when they don't know, because maybe they didn't experience something, you know, maybe whatever. But just looking at them in a different light is basically what I'm saying. And then try to have the conversation once you have realized whether or not you want the relationship with her. You have to start with the forgiving part, because in order for you to have the hard conversation, you have to forgive her first. And then say, you know, I want to talk to you, and, you know, state what you want and all of those things, and see how that goes. But you have to be prepared, you know, for if she's receptive to it, and she may not be receptive to it. So you got to, you know, prepare for that. She may not be receptive to you telling it like it is, you know, or saying, okay, you hurt me in this way. She may not be receptive to that. But then on the flip side, she might be. She just didn't know how to come to you. Sometimes our parents are prideful. That pride from them generations is a beast. That pride, that's all I'm going to say, in the black culture, is a beast. It will have you not admitting your wrongs. It will have you out here hurting people because you feel entitled to. A lot of that stuff is deep rooted in our community, deep rooted in our bloodline. You know, we have to unroot some stuff. I might wind up doing some type of series, because all of these things are generational curses. They really are. A lot of these things are generational curses, and we got to break some stuff. We got to uproot some stuff. We got to dig some stuff up, and we got to get free, man, because we walking around here living in bondage. We mean, we argumentative, we, you know, all of these different things, because we going through whatever the struggle is we going through, and just not having a happy life. Like, our time on this earth is limited. It is so limited. If this pandemic didn't teach us nothing else, our time is limited. You don't have time to be out here being all evil and stressed out and, you know, going ham on people. You gotta enjoy life while you got it, because it's gonna be a different experience once you pass. It's a whole different experience. You're not going to be able to experience nature the way you was experiencing it in your physical body. So try to do things that will help you emotionally and spiritually, so that you can enjoy life a little bit more. That's why you got to forgive. You got to start having compassion for people. People are going through stuff just like you going through stuff. You got people out here struggling, you know, financially, and you got people borderline homeless. You got people, you know, that has dealt with abuse throughout the pandemic, because I looked at the statistics, and it was a lot of physical abuse that happened during lockdown. A lot. The numbers are alarming. Very alarming. Like, so you got people that's got a lot of different things, not to mention they parent issues, daddy wasn't there, mommy wasn't there, like grandma raised me, like all of that. Everybody got something that they dealing with. So just having compassion. And then people are taking their life. Like, there's just so much stuff going on. So with this, I just want you all to look at people differently. You know, learn to have compassion. Learn to, like I said, forgive. And do your own work so that you can get to a place of forgiveness, of compassion, so that you can be a better version of yourself. Essentially, this is helping you to be a better version of yourself, and not to carry emotional baggage, and not to carry all of these life issues, because that's not your portion. That's not what you was meant to be doing. Like, that's, God did not give you this life to be carrying all of this baggage. You got to free yourself. So freeing yourself means praying against generational curses, doing the work to free yourself from generational curses, uprooting that stuff. So I thank you all for joining, for watching, for your input. I do this every Thursday, 8 o'clock, on Instagram, now Facebook. Eventually, I'm going to just be doing it on YouTube. So that's what I am working up to. So that we can really have these conversations, and we can do some work. Like, maybe you all will be able to jump on here and actually talk about this stuff, like, because we have work to do. We have to be better. We have to emotionally be better, because when you have kids, you don't want them to go through the same crap you done been through. I promise you. Like, I'm looking at that and I'm like, Lord, when I decided I'm getting married, maybe by 40, we'll see. And I want a kid, like, I don't want my child to struggle through anything that I had to struggle through. So I have to work on myself, because I don't want to be spewing out stuff because I'm mad, that day, or I don't want them to have any issues aside from society, because society brings its own issues, but I don't want them to have issues with me and they trying to figure out all of these different things because I haven't been good to them. I don't want to be that person. I don't want them to have to walk on eggshells with me, not I don't want to be controlling. I don't want to be that way. Like, so I'm like, Lord, you got to work on me. Like, we got to do this work. So I'm working. I am working because I want to be different. I don't want to be the same. And that's what it's about. Evolving, growing, and being a better version of yourself, so that generations to come do not have to experience none of the mess that we had to, none of the mess our parents had to, because they experienced a lot of trauma. Being whooped, I'm gonna have to do another live another day. Being whooped with an extension cord, a switch, that's a whole nother trauma. Yeah. So I ain't gonna go into no more, but they got their own traumas. Our grandparents got their own traumas, great grandparents with theirs. So we gotta come against some stuff. But again, I thank you all for being a part of this conversation, for giving your input. And I am going to see you next Thursday at 8 o'clock. I'll probably tell you all what the topic is like a couple of days prior, because I already kind of got it figured out. But yeah, so I will see you next week. You all have a great night, great weekend. If I'm not back on here, I'm going to try to do some more lives, because I feel like once a week ain't enough. It ain't enough. It be so much. It ain't enough. So I can cut down the time too. But it ain't enough. So I'm going to try to do some more lives. But for right now, I'm going to see you next Thursday. So you all have a good night. Bye.